If you're a Vegeta fan, this video is for you. But are you tired of Vegetas being underwhelming in comparison to every unit that releases? Not saying they are completely bad, in some cases they're the worst things to ever touch Dragon Ball Legends, with the sole exception of Ultra Margin Vegeta. He needs to But the big question is, why are they always bad? Now, saying that is quite an exaggeration, but if we take SSBE Vegeta for example, putting him right next to MUI Goku and having MUI Goku be that good is crazy work from the developers. Clear undertuning here, so we gotta talk about it. Question for you guys in the comment section: do you guys actually use Vegeta Clan in Dragon Ball Legends, or do you use a different team? Let me know, but I know I'm not touching that team. Let's get into this, man. Now, before we get deep into this video, I want to let you guys know that what I'm explaining in this video is mainly my own theory, so there's no absolute facts to back this, besides the one time where Toshi did explain that they tried to make it so that the unit's kits somehow correlate with what happened in the anime. Unfortunately, I don't remember what reveals and stuff that is, but if somebody could find that for me, because I'm not digging through all of them, some of them be 50 minutes, like the 7th anniversary. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he said that sometime in the past. But besides from that, it's more so my headcanon to back the things I have to say in this video, but you guys can be the judge of what I'm saying and decide if you believe it or not. So going in with the designs for Vegeta, a lot of Vegetas fail because they rely on this idea of building up, and this is the biggest problem we're dealing with the new SSBE Vegeta. When you have to build up to get your character running, the payoff needs to be worth it, and for some reason the developers, when it comes to designing units that build up, forget to add the payoff, or in some way, shape or form, the payoff that they add in the kit just isn't enough for all the work that you put in. So if I go into SSBE Vegeta's kit real quick, we all know that he has to get to level 3 to be the most optimal, but it takes very long to get to level 3. There are some culpers that are gonna say, oh, it doesn't take long, it doesn't take long. Well, I hope you can do that in less than 10 cards. Realistically speaking, that isn't happening. And if you put that side by side with MUI Goku, at least with MUI Goku, he only needs 6 cards to get to his max, then he transforms, and even if he doesn't build up, he's still better than SSBE Vegeta, which is ridiculous. And then SSBE Vegeta's main payoff is that his blue card nullifies endurance permanently, but for how long it takes, by the time you get to level 3, you probably would have killed 1 or 2 enemies. So what? We're just here to get the legendary finish? It doesn't really give you an advantage when you really need it earlier in the game. But using that as an example, what you want to point out is that it's not the build up alone that makes it bad, because MUI Goku also requires build up and he's good. It's more about the payoff and how long it takes. So building up on its own is not inherently bad, but it's also how they go about designing the units, and because a lot of Vegeta characters require build up based on what happens in the anime, they are more susceptible to having underwhelming or undertuned kits. So if I was to name some other Vegeta characters that require build up, you can see that they were clearly undertuned, which is more so unfortunate, but they could have been really good if the developers played the stats game correctly, implying that they gave them better stats. We've got Daima Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. I wouldn't say he's inherently bad, but especially in comparison to the free-to-play Daima Mini Goku, that guy is a burst damage demon and doesn't need build up. He just hurts you. But with Vegeta, he's reliant on his gauge, and this is a summonable unit, so it just doesn't feel good. Also makes him somewhat star reliant, so if you haven't invested in him, he's easy to break down, and he doesn't dish out the most damage, even when you invest in the build up which revolves around his gauge. We've got Legends Limited Super Vegeta, easily the worst Vegeta that we've got in recent times. This guy here builds up to nothing, and this is typical Vegeta. Anytime he's hitting a move that has final in it, nothing's gonna be final about it. Another unit here who's reliant on his gauge to do a good amount of damage, and even if that gauge gives him all the benefits he needs, he's not gonna get benefits that are going to allow him to succeed over others, at least not easily on the battlefield. So it's basically a useless buff. Another scenario where the unit becomes very star reliant, so if you don't invest in them a lot, you're not gonna get anything out of them, which makes them very underwhelming generally speaking. With Super Vegeta, there's also the addition of having to keep him on the battlefield, where when he's already not doing a lot of damage and you have to wait for that to happen, it's just super inefficient gameplay where you could have used somebody else to do that same damage without having to wait at all. We've got Evo Ken. Now this unit here does good damage and they were amazing on release. Vegeta, for the first time I believe, is the starting side of the tag unit, and the idea is to press a lot of cards to fill your gauge so that you can even extend your combo further and do more damage. Now like I said, on release this was an amazing unit, but somehow as soon as part 3 happened, they got replaced on their own team by Ultra UI, and and all of a sudden their damage wasn't hitting like it was. So doing all that build up wasn't hitting because it requires too much to get nothing out of it. So again, similar concept where the payoff just isn't worth it for all the work you're putting in. And the last one I'll mention, which is a very obvious case, but it's another tag unit, so it's not all on Vegeta, but here the case is about Boo Bros. I would argue that their gauge is easily the worst in Dragon Ball Legends because you're spending the whole battle accumulating for their gauge, and their gauge, the prep time, gives out a big attack at the end which might not kill, and it's a one-time blow in the game. It just doesn't feel good to do all that work not to take anybody out. It feels like you're investing to get nothing. And yes, of course, I know this unit is more aesthetics and more fun, but it's another reason why they basically had no life on them, and a lot of people would opt out of using them. Now, if you look at all the units that I've mentioned, in the anime, they all required somewhat of a build-up. SSBE Vegeta, it's his final explosion. It's his accumulation of all his ki to let out that big attack to beat Toppo, and they've designed his kit around that idea. Very apparently so. We've got Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. His big attack at the end was the final flash against Goma, and we all know the final flash is a big accumulation of ki for him to let out that final attack. But like I said, anything with Vegeta and final is not going to be final. In that same boat, of course, Super Vegeta, the final flash not cooking anything. It's not final. To be honest with Evo Ken, I would argue it's just more the accumulation of them trying to beat Jiren more than them actually building up and doing things. So I would argue they're one of the exceptions that could have worked out, but because people don't like investing their time and energy on the battlefield to get very little output, they naturally faded out. But then of course the prep time gauge speaks for itself. The whole kit is built around building up so that Goku can do the Kamehameha, but in game, just an inefficient way to play Dragon Ball Legends. Now, I could have mentioned a couple other units that are Vegeta units that require build up that are just very unsuccessful, but that's not what I'm going to do here because I feel like we have enough examples. What I want to mention here is an example where build up worked very, very well, and there's a reason for that. So we have the Legends Limited Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta from the Future Arc. This unit here is the definition of build up to do damage. You're meant to press a bunch of arts cards, build up that damage inflicted, then you get to hit an ultimate that's going to lock in the enemy and guarantee a kill. This guy in his prime was truly unstoppable, a literal menace in PvP. The guys that were there will know he's basically the OG template for Ultra Margin Vegeta. But this unit in 2025 Dragon Ball Legends most likely wouldn't succeed in PvP outside of the fact that his ultimate can lock you in. But why do I say that, do you ask? Well, the main reason is build up isn't successful in 2025. You guys have seen the type of kits we've been getting recently. Some units really just get the best of the best. We have MUI Goku who can do 80% of your health just by standing still. That's ridiculous. And I'm talking about how he reflects damage when you send an art card his way. We have Ultra Perfect Cell, literally got everything under the sun to protect himself but be offensively great. Nullifies endurance permanently, half health break, endurance, ultimate arts card that has the tap action that's going to do crazy damage. No build up, just ready to go. Beast Gohan, his regular arts cards do crazy damage. He has an ultimate that does crazy damage and he doesn't need build up for it, but it just takes a bit of time. He has a special beam cannon that will pretty much take you out even if you have endurance. With buff cancellation, you can't cancel buffs on the special beam cannon because it's not an ultimate special move, rising rush or awakened arts, so it's just going through. Super Saiyan 4 Goku from Daima, do I even need to say more about this guy? And I guess I'll just mention Ultimate Gohan from last year just to add some icing to the cake. There are units like this that consistently exist in Dragon Ball Legends, and even though they're trying to go the quote-unquote balanced route, there's always going to be one that sneaks in to take over the game. Especially in a celebration, it's just their bread and butter. It's how they just designed the game. They want to have a unit that is popular be the most overpowered so it can sell more, only naturally. So if you had a unit like Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, nowadays, they just wouldn't be able to get to the point where they can build up because there's so many units that can break combos, survive the big attacks, and honestly, just do more before Vegeta can even build up in the first place. But back then, it worked because there was less endurance in the meta, less combo breaking, and overall, the stats were just lower. Everybody was worse off. In a sense, you could say he was playing against farmers. Everybody in the meta back then just wasn't as good, which is why I've been trying to separate the idea of old Dragon Ball Legends and modern Dragon Ball Legends. Kits are designed vastly different. Units have more stats. They have more capabilities of stopping combos. There's way more new mechanics in the game. All these factors tie in to make make it so that building up is easily the most inefficient way for a unit to exist in the meta, because that other unit over there doesn't need any of that and can perform at the same level, if not better, than a unit that reaches their peak when they are building up. But shout out Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. If you guys know, you guys know. Basically Ultra Margin Vegeta before Ultra Margin Vegeta. Now, we was just speaking on Ultra Margin Vegeta and why he's actually insane, right? But why is he an exception in today's era? If I just explained why so many Vegeta units are bad, why is he able to shine? And I've explained this before, but it's specifically about the version of Vegeta that they chose to put in Dragon Ball Legends. At the time of his release, people were very upset that the version of Ultra Margin Vegeta they picked wasn't the final explosion. But in my opinion, now that we're in hindsight, it was honestly the best thing Vegeta fans could have hoped for. The reason this is because that version of Vegeta did no build up. He just beat the hell out of Goku, quote unquote. It's one of the few instances where Vegeta gets a major W, and not just against anybody, but the main character of the series. We do later find out that of course Goku had Super Saiyan 3 in his back pocket. What a rat. But the point of this version of Vegeta is that he beats Goku, so there's no build up required. He's just him, and that makes him a pure exception, especially based on all the other fighting styles that we have with Vegeta. So Super Vegeta builds up for the final flash, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta builds up for the final flash, SSBE Vegeta builds up for the final explosion, Margin Vegeta, if it's the one against Buu, builds up for the final explosion. It requires ki. Even the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, he's just stacking a bunch of punches. There's no one big punch that he just takes them out with. He's sending a bunch, and the developers, they decided to take that as build up. But this Vegeta here, he ain't with that. He was just a demon out the gate, and I think that's a big reason why he's an exception. He's not the only case we have this though. In the game we have two 8 Vegetas, and I would say both of them were really good on release, and that's because 8 Vegeta, he's that guy as well. I would say he's the second best Vegeta, because they really jumped his ass, but he was still the strongest guy out there, very obviously so. So my main conclusion is that it depends on what version of Vegeta for the likeliness of their kit being good. And I'm not even a Vegeta guy like that, but if you wanted to put your hopes in anybody for a next Vegeta to be good, it's most likely going to be 8 Vegeta. I would also throw Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta Mini in that boat, because the minute he hit Super Saiyan 3, there was no build up. He just went all out against Tamagami 2, completely overwhelmed him. And I would bet a lot of money that that guy's going to be good in Dragon Ball Legends too. But that's just my opinion on why Ultra Margin Vegeta is an exception, and there's clearly a trend here. Now, just to add more evidence to what I've explained, this doesn't only apply to Vegeta. There's a lot of other units that face this exact same outcome. For example, Broly, specifically the Dragon Ball Super Broly. All of them are damage stackers for some reason, which pretty much means the unit is due to get power creep and the damage stacking is not going to work out anymore. Gogeta Blue, specifically Gogeta Blue. When it comes to this unit, it's all about building up, because he didn't go all out against Broly from the jump. Started in base, went Super Saiyan, then Blue. Ultra Gogeta Blue, he has to get to 60 time counts to be great. The first Gogeta Blue, the Legends Limited, he has to press a bunch of art cards to get his ultimate damage up. And then even fusing Gogeta Blue, very much so lackluster in comparison to Vegito. You have to work to get his gauge full, then you have to empty it, and when you're emptying it, that one attack will do more damage than every other art card. But in that case, they also focused on his dash side to side when he was fighting Broly and invented the Strike Assault mechanic. Goku Black is like this as well. The green Goku Black, not the Ultra, he has to build up damage. The Ultra has to build up for his gauge to get an ultimate. The yellow Goku Black, he has a gauge as well, which is one time, and every time he presses an art card, so strike or blast, he gets damage inflicted. Now, like I said at the start of the video, having build up itself isn't the problem, but it's more so that the developers, they don't always build their stats correctly, which makes them fall off super quick. So I just mentioned 3 Goku Blacks there, and 2 out of 3 of them are quote unquote great, and you guys will know who's the worst one there. With the Gogetas, again, 2 out of 3 of them are straight up great, and you guys will know who isn't in that conversation. But the general idea is, if there is build up, there's a chance they're not going to be great, and depending on the character, there is somewhat bias involved, very apparently. But yeah man, that's going to be the end of the video. Just my ideas on why Vegeta units usually fail in Dragon Ball Legends, but I wonder if that's something they'll work to change in the future with the way they're going to quote unquote balance Dragon Ball Legends. But at this point, it's really rough for Vegeta because his moments don't translate well into the game. So it's really going to be hit or miss, and you can only hope for certain Vegetas to be good if you are a Vegeta fan. But hopefully guys guys did enjoy this video, if you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.